I would like to share some breakthrough ways of looking at the body that we have developed to help you understand the effects of electromagnetic pollution that you can test for yourself, and some innovative products that we've developed and that you can verify are actually helping you to overcome the effects of these harmful frequencies. You probably know that Wi-Fi signals, smartphones like this one, and so-called smart devices are damaging to your health. It's almost impossible to escape these or block it out of our lives. You may not realize how they're affecting you, so we have developed a test so that you can actually measure the effects on your body. The test is based on the scientific evidence that the body is interconnected by a fibrous framework called the biotensegrity matrix, or simply called the matrix. In fact, the matrix is electrically conductive, and that means that it can be affected by various factors like injury or even electromagnetic frequencies that are not biocompatible. Let me show you how this works. We're going to demonstrate this technique with Holly, and to do that, I'm simply going to use a part of her body like the rib cage. I can also use a muscle on her thigh to determine how much tension or resistance is present without any other influence. So for example, I'm going to just go in gently and see how far her rib cage lets me go in, and she can be aware of how much that's letting me go in. Okay, good. And I can also use a thigh muscle and do the same thing, gentle pressure, and just see where it stops naturally. And that's about it. Okay, now we'll take the cell phone and place it on her abdomen like this, and we're going to retest the same area here on the rib cage. Okay, and so I want Holly to register that. You can see how far my hand is able to go in now. Good. And now we'll take the cell phone away and then recheck without the cell phone. Good. And can you feel the difference?
Yep.
What did you notice?
It's more rigid when the phone was on me.
Okay, more rigid. Didn't let me go in very far. Okay, like, good. Okay, good. Okay, so that's one way that we can use to test the effect of something like a cell phone. Okay, we'll use the thigh muscle, same thing. See how far it lets me go in, which is about there. We can take the cell phone away, right? And then retest the muscle. And you can see how nice and soft and pliable it is now. It's interesting, eh? So this really confirms how the matrix works. So now we'll show you how to do this for yourself at home. So Holly, what I'd like you to do is place your hand on your thigh, like that, right in the middle of the thigh, and just press in gently and see how far the thigh muscle allows you to go in. Okay, so feel what that feels like. Got it?
Yep.
Good, and just relax. Now take your cell phone and place it on your other thigh. So this is adding a source of high-frequency, man-made electrical field to her body. Okay, and I want you to go ahead and test it again and see how far it lets you go in now. Good.
Yeah.
Good. And what do you feel?
Yeah, I can't go in as deep.
Okay, good. And I'd like you to take the cell phone and put it to your side as far as you can. Good. And I want you to give it a second and then recheck it again. Okay? Okay?
Yeah.
You feel the difference?
Yeah.
And what can you feel now?
It's a lot softer.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I recommend is doing this with your eyes closed. Okay, let's try it once more with your eyes closed and get a sense without the cell phone. Okay, see how far it lets you in. Okay, and take the cell phone and place it on your other side there. Good. And then give it a second and try it again. Okay. Okay. Does that help you even feel it more clearly?
Yeah.
The reason we suggest you do it with your eyes closed is so that you get more sensitivity to what your hand is actually feeling. When you're doing this test, make sure you're not near any other major source of electromagnetic pollution, like a router or a smart TV or any other device. So try it out for yourself and let us know if you find it useful. Using this simple test to measure the resistance in the rib cage or a muscle, we can determine the level of tension in the body. When we add a negative influence, like an electromagnetic source of irritation to the body, like a cell phone, we'll notice that there's increased resistance in these areas. So let's see what we can do to counteract that. So for example, we have a device here, which I'm going to place on the body at the same time. And let's see if that changes this at all. Do you notice the difference when I have that device there?
Yep.
Okay, we'll take it away, and we're going to check you again without it. What do you notice when I take it away?
You can't go in as deep. It's tighter.
It's more resistant. Okay, when I place it on the body, okay, it's more relaxed, more flexible, right? Okay, so that's one method we'll talk about. The next thing I'm going to do is reach over here and turn on this device. And we're going to test you again when that's on. Okay, so feel what that feels like now. Okay, and let's turn it off. And notice if you can feel a difference. Okay,
Yeah.
and you can see that this creates more tension, which is caused by the cell phone being in close proximity to the body. But we did something using this device and using this device over here, which we'll talk about in a minute, and somehow that interrupted this negative influence, okay? So this is a huge breakthrough in terms of understanding what we can do as individuals to help counteract the effects of electromagnetic pollution. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about now. So about 7 or 8 years ago, the practitioners that we have trained in this technique called matrix repatterning, who depend on being able to measure the electrical changes in the body, noticed they were having significant challenges. And it just so happened around that time is when so many more of the smart devices, cell phones, the smart meters, the smart TVs, all of those were being introduced. And I realized this was a huge change in the electromagnetic environment. And it was interfering with our ability to find and treat these areas of injury that were showing up in the body that also were affecting its electrical conduction. So around that time, I knew I had to come up with a method to counteract the effects of electromagnetic pollution because we were not able to perform this technique to its highest level of effectiveness. And so I came up with various ways to do that. But one of the main things I recognized is that there is a natural healthy frequency produced by the Earth called the Schumann frequencies, which range between 3 and 40 hertz or cycles per second. And it just so happens that those are the same frequencies produced by our nervous system and the brain itself. So as a result of that, I worked with a number of scientists and engineers to create a device that would supplement that healthy, natural frequency, the same frequencies produced by the Earth, in a device that would compensate for the effects of electromagnetic pollution. And lo and behold, it really worked. And then one of our practitioners lent her safe zone to a friend of hers whose son was born with a brain injury. As a result, he had 10 to 20 epileptic seizures a day for 17 years. Since she's been using the safe zone, his seizures have practically disappeared. In addition to that, the ringing in her ears, called tinnitus, which she had had for 20 years, also dramatically improved. So suddenly, we recognized that this device had tremendous value for everyone. And so we began to develop some research to begin to test this out. Using a sophisticated form of electroencephalography, or EEG, we were actually able to verify that the safe zone and the field it produced, which is this natural range of frequencies almost identical to what the Earth produces, caused a normalizing effect on the brain waves. And so we tested people without the safe zone and with the safe zone, and they significantly improved with the use of the safe zone. In addition to that, people have been using this device now for the past few years and have noticed improvements in things like migraines, other headaches, anxiety, sleep disorders, ringing in the ears, and many, many other health disorders. One way to understand how the matrix is influenced by injury or electromagnetic pollution is to understand that this little model actually represents what's inside of our cells. It's a protein framework that literally is very flexible and has a certain shape to it. However, when it's injured or affected by a source of electromagnetic pollution, it actually becomes expanded and rigid. This is what we now know to be true in terms of how the body responds to many negative influences. When we apply a normalizing field, whether it's through this device, which is the matrix mag, or the safe zone, then we can allow that structure to come back towards a normal, flexible state. We can also apply specific treatments that we've developed using matrix repatterning to help restore that as well. This is why, for example, you could feel the difference in your tissues when I tested the resistance and then applied a normalizing influence using either this special magnet or turning on the safe zone. It caused that structure to go from a rigid, expanded state to a more relaxed state that allowed me to go in further. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. It's important to recognize that when the cell is in this expanded and rigid state, it just doesn't function properly. The communication system in the body, within the cell itself, everything is interrupted. It actually turns the matrix from a conductor into a resistor. And so by applying a normalizing field or applying normalizing treatment, we can restore that conductivity and restore healthy cell function. So I'd like to talk a little bit about magnets. Many of you may have heard that magnets are very beneficial, and some people have claimed that they reduce their pain and so on. So I began investigating that myself as a practitioner. And one of the things I recognized is that the way that I test the entire body could also be helpful in terms of testing the effectiveness of any device, including magnets. So when I started looking at different magnets, the experience was that none of them seemed to be beneficial. I'll show you how I figured that out. So we have this baseline test here that we've used before, which we can measure the amount of resistance on with Holly. This test represents the level of tension within the matrix that we can see represented by this model, which is similar to how our cells look on the inside. And this is a continuous fabric of interconnected proteins that connects through the entire body. When there is a negative influence, like an injury or electromagnetic pollution, then the matrix can become much more rigid and will block the flow of electrons through it. When I test the rib cage here, it's telling me that there's a certain amount of compliance or there's a certain amount of flexibility that is based on any of those influences, which could be various injuries that Holly's had or the presence of electromagnetic influences. When I test any magnet, and I'll just use this as an example, this is a regular fridge magnet, okay? So I'm going to be testing the level of tension in her matrix. Then I'm going to place the magnet on her abdomen here, and it will tell me about how it's affecting her. And so let's see what that does when I place it on your body. Can you feel the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me what that feels like.
It's tighter.
Tighter. Okay, and you can see I can hardly go in at all. If I take that away and retest it without that, just notice how flexible that becomes, okay? You can feel that. That's something you can test for yourself using any magnet at home. And this is something I noticed with almost every so-called therapeutic magnet on the market. So I was pretty convinced that magnets were not going to really help. Some people, I think, noticed an improvement in pain, perhaps because it kind of creates a bit of an irritation, which I think is really happening, and that can cause your pain signals to be altered temporarily. But long term, I found that people using them for a long period of time actually had a declining state of their health. So I abandoned magnets completely for a long time. And then someone introduced me to another type of magnet a number of years ago. And it's this magnet here. So this is an unusual type of magnet called an alternating polarity concentric magnet. And what's unique about it is that it has alternate poles, which is north, south, north, south. As you go through, these are opposite poles, which actually have a unique effect on the body. When I first encountered this, I was assuming that it would do the same thing that every other magnet I had found. And so when I tested the resistance without the magnet and placed it on the body, I expected it to become tighter. And notice what happens.
Yeah, it gets softer.
It gets softer, right? I was just as shocked as you might be. And this is why I said, okay, there's something going on with this magnet that's very, very different. So I started working with the developers of this magnet to create what we call the Matrix Mag home treatment system. A form of this is actually used by our practitioners to assess and treat the entire body. And what we determined using various methods is that when it's placed on the body, it creates a form of microcurrent which actually restores the matrix back to a more normal state, which allows electrical current to flow through the body, which also relaxes the tissues. Okay? And in that way, it supports healing and it can help your body to reduce pain and tenderness and even inflammation. And we've seen it be of benefit. And there are 4 double-blind studies now that have confirmed the effectiveness of the Matrix Mag device. One way to understand why a regular magnet can actually create more tension is to recognize how the magnetic field of a regular magnet, which is bipolar, basically north and south, okay, when it's placed on the body, it actually causes the body to be stimulated by one side and inhibited by the other. And in a sense, it's like putting your feet on the brake and the accelerator at the same time. It winds up shutting everything down. And this is why I feel long term this can have a negative effect. In contrast, the Matrix Mag, because of the opposite poles, produces a continuous flow of electrons through it in one direction or in all directions, and therefore stimulates the current through that part of the body that's been injured or affected by electromagnetic pollution. That's why I feel the effectiveness of the Matrix Mag has been demonstrated not only in our clinical tests, it's also been showing up as an improvement based on some double-blind studies as well, including chronic pain, menstrual pain, and so on. These are studies that are published and are available on our website. So in addition to reducing pain and inflammation, we believe that the Matrix Mag device actually provides a lot of other benefits in terms of improving mobility and stability and even neurological function. And we can demonstrate that here with Holly. I'll show you how that works here. Okay, so I'm going to just check your range of motion. I'm going to get you to lift this leg up, and we're going to see how far her hip can move comfortably. You can see where it stops about there. And another test we'll do is what's called internal rotation. You can see it's quite limited as well. All right, so those are the 2 tests we're going to be using. And then by placing this device on her rib cage here, on her abdomen, I'm going to neutralize a potential area that might be interfering with that. We'll see how that works. Let's lift your leg up again, okay? And let's look at how much range of motion you have now. What do you?
Yeah.
Can you feel the difference?
Yeah, and it doesn't. It was pinching before.
It was pinching before, right? And it was very limited this way before.
Yeah.
And notice how that moves now. So we can see that this has a really profound effect on the body. And so this device is inside some of the wearable devices we have available. For example, this pendant here, which Holly is wearing. And there's also a wristband version, which comes in 2 different colors, so you can see here as well. Many people have reported that wearing these devices actually counteracts many painful conditions, but also for those who are really sensitive electromagnetically, has helped to protect them from the effects of electromagnetic pollution. There actually is some additional evidence by wearing it on the wrist like that on a specific meridian pathway. There's been some evidence it's improved certain conditions, including menstrual pain. All right? So just a consideration, or even hot flashes at night for women who are perimenopausal or menopausal. We have a device that attaches to the phone. So now Holly has a cell phone, but her cell phone, and for many people who have cell phones close near their body, in a pocket or so on, having this device right on that can help to counteract some of those effects as well. So this is a way you can easily get the benefits of the Matrix Mag to support your healing, reducing pain, and improving just general function. To get the benefit of the Matrix Mag home treatment system, you can position the straps on different areas depending on where you have discomfort, pain, or inflammation, or based on recommendations by your practitioner. And all of this comes together in this home treatment kit. And then you have several magnets available, which you can place then on different areas to stimulate the benefit of these in different areas by placing them on the knee, for example, the wrist, for neck pain, for low back pain. Those would go behind the back. And then we have another version of the Matrix Mag itself, encased without the Velcro, that can be placed, for example, on another area that's harder to get with a strap, for example, on the shoulder, by placing it there, and then using a keeper magnet to position it comfortably throughout the day. If you'd like more information about how to purchase the Matrix Mag devices and how to use them with complete instructions, then just refer to the website at wellnesssystems.com. The Safe Zone EM is a device we created to counteract the effects of electromagnetic pollution. It incorporates very powerful technology that includes Tesla coils and the use of the Matrix Mag device to broadcast a normalizing field, which is almost identical to the Earth's Schumann frequencies, to support healthy cellular function. And this is based on research that we've been conducting over the last few years, using it clinically and also measuring things like electroencephalography, EEG studies to verify that it's actually improving the functioning of the nervous system. One thing what's very important to understand is that Schumann frequencies vary during the day versus the night. And this is because of the change in the shape and size of the ionosphere around the Earth, which is the electrical kind of grid around the Earth. And so the frequencies produced at night are lower frequency to support restful sleep. And the higher frequencies produced during the day support activity and cognitive function. And this is exactly what the Safe Zone is able to duplicate. It functions as a natural alarm clock, which allows you to time the higher frequencies to be turned on when you would like to wake up and begin your day. In addition to that, you can set it to start the rest mode at a time when you'd like to begin your sleep cycle, and it'll support the lower frequencies necessary for deep, restful sleep. The Safe Zone provides a healthy electromagnetic environment that mimics the Earth's healthy, natural frequencies. And it can provide that 24/7 into your entire environment, whether it be home or office. And because it's a USB-powered device, it can be used in a vehicle like an RV or a car as well, and will support you wherever you decide to place it. One thing to really understand is the Safe Zone will compensate for electromagnetic pollution. It will not block those signals. So it won't interfere with Wi-Fi transmission or with your cell phones. It simply supplements the healthier frequencies to offset or compensate for electromagnetic pollution. One of the studies we've been conducting with the Safe Zone is the use of a specialized form of EEG or electroencephalography developed by researchers at the University of British Columbia. And what this device demonstrated is that when the person is exposed to electromagnetic pollution, the brain waves actually can go out of sync, out of balance. And in that same environment, when we turn on the Safe Zone, within a few minutes, the brain waves tend to become much more normal and healthy. And that's something that actually surprised the researchers, because when they did back-to-back testing like that, typically the person would get worse. So that actually verified even more clearly that the Safe Zone was having a beneficial effect on the nervous system. We are at a unique moment in history where not only are we being exposed to tremendous amounts of artificial electromagnetic frequencies from these devices that are causing electromagnetic pollution, we also happen to be during a cycle where the Earth's magnetic field is in decline due to what we now understand to be a polar reversal. And so This has been recognized by scientists, and why this is even more important that we do everything we can to compensate for and supplement the healthy frequencies that our body and our entire nervous system and even our cells and DNA need in order to remain healthy. And the Safe Zone and the Matrix Mag are both excellent supports for that goal. So the importance of the Schumann frequencies cannot be overstated. We know, for example, that astronauts who are in the International Space Station or in orbit for long periods of time have tremendous degenerative changes in their body. And the fact that the Earth's Schumann resonances right now are in a state of decline due to the polar reversal means that we are also being affected by that effect. And combined with the artificial damaging effects of electromagnetic pollution, our body more than ever requires the support of devices like the Safe Zone and the Matrix Mag in order to compensate for the effects of these historic events that are occurring at this moment in time. Using the power of the Schumann generator that's inside the Safe Zone, which incorporates Tesla coils and the Matrix Mag technology, we can turn on this device like this, which provides a normalizing influence to the entire body and literally to the entire house. But when we turn it on, we can see that there's quite a bit of difference, right? You can feel the amount of flexibility now here, much softer compliance in the muscle. Okay, so for example, if I turn it off right now, as we can see, there's a lot more resistance here. And this is really about the state of the matrix, which is going to be in a tense state when it's exposed to high frequency radio frequencies, microwave, etc. And then by turning on the Safe Zone, that normalizing field is broadcast into the environment, and very quickly we can see an improvement in flexibility. And so the matrix then goes from a rigid state to a more flexible, healthy state. And we know that supports healthy function because we see improvements in so many conditions, including headaches, tinnitus, ringing in the ears, people with epilepsy. We've seen children with autism improving. And we also see animals dramatically thriving, animals who are agitated, not sleeping at night, scratching all the time due to electromagnetic effects, they seem to calm right down as well, which is amazing. And that's, to me, the true test of a non-placebo effect, essentially, okay? So in addition to that, we can look at other things that are measurable. Let's get you to bend this knee. So if we look at, I'm going to turn the Safe Zone off for a moment, okay? Get you to lift this leg up. And when I test the range of motion in your hip, you can see there's a certain amount of resistance here and also in this direction, right? So let's turn the Safe Zone on. Give it a few seconds to boot up. And remember, this is duplicating the normalizing effect of having the Matrix Mag right on the body, but you don't have to necessarily wear these devices all the time because you're going to get some of the benefits coming from this device, which can penetrate the entire body. And so now when we look at the range of motion, you can see quite a bit of difference in that as well. Okay, so that tells you that the entire body is benefiting by receiving the healthy Schumann frequencies that we're supposed to be living in. And that was my concept many years ago in terms of developing the Safe Zone, is that we need something to counteract the effects of electromagnetic pollution. And so this is why we're happy to provide the Safe Zone to you as well. And if you'd like more information and like to purchase the Safe Zone, please visit our website at wellnesssystems.com.